Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Actually, this is yesterday's verse.
Oh, yes, it is.
That's right.
So they didn't write the reverse.
You forgot.
That's all right.
That's not valid. Need more. We're gonna do this verse again in a few more years.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'll just read it myself. Anta Purusa Rupena Kala Rupena Yobihi Samanvetisa Sadvanam Bhagavan Atmamayaya. Anta within Purusha Rupena in the form of the Super Soul. Kala Rupena in the form of time. Ya he who Bahi without Samanveti exists. Esha he Sadvanam of all living entities. Bhagavan the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Atmamayaya by his potencies. Translation and purport by his divine. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada, he said to Vishaka, this book, we heard about this book yesterday, it's a good book. He said, when you read, don't just read, but try to feel what you read and try to get realization. So it's a nice purport here, so we should really try to hear. Hearing is very important. Shravanam, kirtanam. By exhibiting his potencies, the Supreme Personality of Godhead adjusts all these different elements, keeping himself within as the Super Soul, and without as time. He's everywhere. He's within, he's without. Purport. Here it is stated that within the heart, the Supreme Personality of Godhead resides as the Super Soul. Now, how big is the Super Soul? Anybody know? No, that's us. That's the soul. The Super Soul. Well, that's in the Krishna, but if you read the Lord in the Heart in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's the size of the span of the hand. Our hand.
Everybody's hand is different.
Well,
For each individual, that's the size.
maybe that's, yeah. the span of the hand. That's how big the super. Then I think in Krishna book it said that it's the size of the thumb, right? It's a different thing. This situation is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. The super soul rests beside the individual soul and acts as a witness. Anybody know the verse? Upatrasthana mantacha bharta bhokta maheshwara paramatmeti chapikto dehismin purushapra. That within the body there's another transcendental enjoyer. So we're trying to enjoy it, but there's another transcendental enjoyer. He's the super soul, and he's the overseer and the permitter. He's seen everything. Nothing is hidden. Sometimes we do things, we think we're going to do it in secret, nobody will know. But super soul knows even the thought, even before you do it. Because there's this statement, what is it? Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjana vivishami chabutani mamtvena kashana. He knows everything that's going to happen in the future, even before you think about it. He already knows you're going to do it. But we think it's a secret. He knows everything that's going to happen in the future, everything that's happened in the past, and everything that's now happening. But me, nobody knows. Nobody knows Krishna. To some degree we can know. Just like Krishna says, Yo mamivam masambudho janati puruso. He says that whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's the knower of everything. Now how can we be the knower of everything? But he's the knower of everything in the sense that he knows everything that is matter, what is spirit, and who the controller of both is. In that sense, he knows everything. And then the next verse, Krishna says that, and whoever knows this, he becomes wise. And all his endeavors, they know perfection. And everything that we endeavor for is perfection. If we know Krishna to be the Supreme. Great verse. This is also confirmed elsewhere in the Vedic literature. Two birds are sitting on the same tree of the body. One is witnessing, and the other is eating the fruits of the tree. Greedy, trying to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Yeah. More and more and more, get more and more and more and more. And the super soul is witnessing. Oh yeah, keep trying. Go ahead, keep trying. Keep trying. But you'll never actually enjoy in this material life. It's an irony that that people in this world, in all their vanity, they don't realize that actually it's that they're underestimating themselves. Yeah. Because our position is that we're the eternal servants of Krishna. We're part of God. So we're entitled, as part of God, to have eternality, knowledge, and unlimited happiness. Yeah. That's what we're entitled to. But because we've forgotten, in our vanity, in pursuit of material life, we forget this, and people become so degraded. Yeah. So this process is meant to help people realize what a great position the living entity is in as part of Krishna. Yeah. When this service attitude to God, to Krishna, reawakens, then we have so much knowledge, so much happiness. We realize that we're spirit souls. But in vanity, oh no, I'm a big person, I'm very intelligent, but materially we don't even exist because we're the soul. But they're very proud of their material life. But spiritually, we have a very big position. Part of Krishna. This Purusha, or Paramatma, who resides within the body of the individual soul, is described in Bhagavad Gita as Upadrashta. Upadrashta means the witness. And Anumanta, he's the sanctioning authority. When I'm on book distribution, I remember this verse quite a bit. It's a good meditation. Because we're trying so hard, but actually Krishna, he's the sanctioner. Without Krishna's mercy, we can't do anything. Yeah, he's the sanctioner. So we try to serve Krishna, understanding his supreme position. But we shouldn't think that we're the doer. Karta means the doer. So Krishna, he is in control. Without his sanction, we can't do anything. So we just try to be, as Krishna told Arjuna, nimitta matram sabhisaj. You just be an instrument. Understand, I'm in control around you. Just be an instrument in my hands. The conditioned soul engages in the happiness and distress of the particular body given him by the arrangement of the external energy of the Supreme Lord. But the Supreme Living Being, or the Paramatma, is different from the conditioned soul. He is described in Bhagavad Gita as the Maheshvara. What does Maheshvara mean? Supreme controller. We're also controllers. Prabhupada said we're little gods. Little G. Because we can control a little bit. But Krishna, he's the God with the big G. No, he's controlling everything. He is Paramatma, not Jivatma. Paramatma means the super soul who is sitting by the side of the conditioned soul just to sanction his activities. You see, the difference is that we know everything that's happening in our body. Of course, we don't know everything. We know something of what's happening in our body and our mind. But we don't know what's happening in others. But Krishna, he knows what's happening in every situation with everybody. The conditioned soul comes to this material world in order to lord it over material nature. Since one cannot do anything without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, he lives with the Jiva soul as witness and sanction giver. He is also Bhokta. He gives maintenance and sustenance to the conditioned soul. Since the living entity is constitutionally part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord is very affectionate to the living entities. Krishna's very, it's like it's mentioned with Dhruva Maharaj. Remember when he was going to go to the forest, I think it was his, maybe Prabhupada says in a purport, that Krishna, he's millions of times more affectionate than one's very affectionate mother. Imagine that. It's like for a child, the mother is most affectionate because, she's caring for the child, comes out of the womb, from the very beginning, the child is very dependent on the mother. So she's very affectionate. Sometimes, I've even heard, I remember when I was young, I read in the newspaper that there was one child that was behind a car, and somehow the brakes went out. It was parked, but somehow the brakes, and it was going to roll over the child. So the mother saw that, and the adrenaline in her body just built up so strong that she went over and she lifted the car. Of course, it was a Volkswagen, but still, it's a car. So she was able to protect the child because of her love. She just picked that thing up, saved the child. So there's so much affection that a mother has for a child. So Krishna is millions of times more affectionate than a loving mother. So he's always thinking of our welfare. Therefore it's like Prabhupada would sign his letters, your ever well-wisher. So Krishna is that unlimited time. He's our ever well-wisher. He's always thinking of our welfare, trying to help us. Therefore he comes. He speaks the Bhagavad Gita. He sends Prabhupada. So many great devotees. So he comes in so many ways, out of his great affection for us. And this whole movement, this Sankirtan movement, it's an exhibition of Krishna's affection, because Krishna says that anybody that explains this Bhagavad Gita, Yaidang Paramangulyam Madbhaktesvarajati, is very dear to me, and there'll never be anyone more dear to me. So he's letting people know that I'm coming, I'm giving you this knowledge, you give it to others. Give it to others also. So his affection is also going out to other devotees. It's like Prabhupada is so affectionate, so compassionate, and because he understood the message of Krishna, and he wanted to give this message. And all the pure devotees, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, if you have life, then you'll preach. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, so many great acharyas, they always preaching Krishna consciousness. So this is expanding on the mercy of Krishna through his devotees. Unfortunately, when the living entity is bewildered or illusioned by the external energy, he becomes forgetful of his eternal relationship with the Lord. But as soon as he becomes aware of his constitutional position, he is liberated. The minute independence of the conditioned soul is exhibited by his marginal position. Marginal means, of course, we could choose. We could serve Krishna, or we could not serve Krishna. So if we serve Krishna, what is the result? We get the result that Gopakumar received. You get the loving embrace of Krishna if we surrender to Krishna, if we utilize our free will properly. But if we don't, if we misuse, then we get the kicks. We get the kicks of Maya. So do we want the kicks, or do we want that loving embrace of Krishna? So we want that loving embrace of Krishna. But of course this means that we have to surrender. Therefore it's stated, Anukoyasya sankalpa pratikuyasya varjan rakshishati vishvashu goptate saranam yata. That surrender means to accept everything favorable for devotional service. So many things that we're doing that are favorable. It's like, we're distributing books, we're doing deity worship, we're cooking, so many things we're doing. And there's devotees that are doing business for Krishna, managing for Krishna. So many things. So if we do it for Krishna, then we get purified. But there's so many things that we have to avoid. This is Maya's kingdom. There's a lot of Maya. Maya means illusion. That we have to avoid. Otherwise we continue on in this material life. If he likes, he can forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead and come into the material existence with a false ego to lord it over the material nature. But if he likes, he can return or turn his face to the service of the Lord. So we always have that choice. Sarvasya chaham pradisana visto matasmatir jnanam upohanam cha vedaischa savaraham eva vedo vedantikrid veda veda vijaham. That Krishna, he's in the hearts of all living entities, and he's the source of all remembrance and forgetfulness. Just like many devotees, they before they joined, they were on somewhat of a search for what is the truth. How many of you were looking, were on a search? Yeah, so pretty much it's like that. So why? Because Krishna reminds. He's in our heart and your mind. Remember you had that, you were searching for the truth? Remember that? So then we start our search. So Krishna reminds. And then sometimes people, they don't want to remember God at all. So, alright. Krishna, he is detached. Alright, you don't want to remember me? Alright. You can forget me. It's okay. Life after life. He doesn't interfere with the independence of the living energy. And just like Krishna, he gives forth rain. He gives rain and he also withholds rain. So he gives remembrance, and if you don't want to remember Krishna, alright, no problem. You can forget me forever if you want. But he's so kind that he still comes and tries to remind us through the kind devotees. The individual living entity is given that independence. His conditional life is ended, and his life becomes successful as soon as he turns his face, to the Lord. But by misusing his independence, he enters into material existence. Material existence means birth, death, old age, and disease. So this process is meant to solve us of these major problems. You know, we don't want to die, we don't want to get disease, we don't want to get old, we don't want any of these things. But we're forced to be in this, actually it's a very awkward situation, just like a person is in prison. It's very awkward. Who wants to be locked up in a prison? You know, it's very awkward. Nobody goes to the prison, excuse me, can you let me in the prison? I'd like to live here for a while. Nobody wants to go to the prison because it's uncomfortable. So, but Maya is so strong, even though there's death, there's old age, there's disease, there's birth, and miseries coming from nature, our own mind, and other living entities. Still, you know, people want to live in this material existence. And if you offer them, well, you know, there's a way that you can go to a place where there's no death, there's no old age, there's no birth, no anxieties, Vaikuntha. It's like Prabhupada has this book, Easy Journey to Other Planets. And in the book, Prabhupada explains that if one is sincere, one can go back to the spiritual world, where there is no death, no old age, no disease, no anxiety, Vaikuntha. So he had given one book to Prabhupada was a book distributor before he came to America. So he was distributing this book. And one Indian man came to him. He said, you know, I read your book, Easy Journey to Other Planets. So my question is, if I go to the spiritual world, to the kingdom of God, can I come back? He said, no, you stay there, you're in the spiritual world, Vaikuntha. No, I'm not interested. Because he was thinking if he can go back to the spiritual world and he could come back and he could tell all his relatives and friends, you know, boast, you know, about how he had gone back. Nah, I'm not interested. So stupid. The living entity is so stupid. That the Lord is so kind that as super soul he always remains within or with the conditioned soul. Just like someone can be so degraded. It's like Stalin. Stalin is even worse than Hitler. You know, millions, killed millions of people. Or Hitler. So even though these people are so degraded, yeah, so sinful, Krishna is still in their heart waiting. Krishna is very patient. Yeah. Like one way, when I distribute books, they say, "Oh yeah, I have no time. So busy, no time." I said, there's something that's nice about books. Books are patient. Books are patient. They'll sit there for decades. And sometimes they say, all right, you got me, okay. How much you want? So Krishna is even more patient. Krishna is the most patient. He'll just wait and wait and wait for the living entity to turn to him. The concern of the Lord is neither to enjoy nor to suffer from the material body. He remains with the jiva simply as sanction giver and witness. It's twice he's mentioned that in this verse. So the living entity can receive the results of his activities, good or bad. Krishna says in the Gita, you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you're not entitled to enjoy the fruits. So generally you think, well, come on, I'm working. You think, oh, come on, why can't I enjoy the fruits? Come on, Krishna, be nice. But actually, the more we devote ourselves to Krishna, to God selflessly, then we may not enjoy the material fruits, but we get purified. And Krishna, he reciprocates in that way. We experience inner happiness, transcendental happiness, not just this flickering material happiness which comes and goes, no, but inner happiness. Outside the body of the conditioned soul, the Supreme Personality Godhead remains as the time factor. We heard yesterday. Yeah? The time factor is destroying everything. Time I am, the destroyer of the worlds. Such a powerful. And he says there's Kala Rupa, which is interesting. Rupa means form, but you don't see time. So how is there Kala Rupa? You can't see the form of time, but there's Kala Rupa, it's stated, the form of time. It's subtle. A subtle form that we can't see. So many subtle things. The most important things are the things we can't see. And unfortunately the materialists, because they can't see, they think it doesn't exist. You can't see the soul. Can't see the super soul. And it's described that Krishna, he is the most subtle. He's everywhere. But the only way you could see him is by
Emotions.
bhakti. Yeah. Bhakti amama janati yavanyastha. One can understand the Supreme Personality of God only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of him, through such devotion, then he can enter into the kingdom of God. This is the only way that one can see Krishna. So this time factor is a very... Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, forget the past that sleeps, nor the future dream at all, but live in times that are with thee, and progress thee shall call. Just like a big thing now, they call meditation mindfulness. You heard this? Mindfulness is a big thing now. And it's pretty much, it's meaning living with the present. So many people, they live in the past or live in the future. And Prabhupada explains that those who live in the past, this is living in the mode of ignorance. To live in the future is the mode of passion. I got to get this, I got to get this. I got plans, I got to do this, got to do that. Just living in the future. And to live in the present is the mode of goodness. And to live in the present for Krishna is pure goodness. That's the best. There's another nice little stanza that the past is history, the future is a mystery, today is a gift, that's why they call it the present. Yeah. So, what is most important is the present, and utilizing that time in the service of Krishna. As Janaka Pandit, he says that with all the wealth in the world, one cannot buy back one moment, not even a second of time. It's so valuable. So valuable. But unfortunately, people, they waste time so much. I was thinking about this, and I thought I'd look it up, because Prabhupada explains this a lot, that we should not waste time. If you have time, read, do service, don't waste time. So many times. So I decided to look it up, how many seconds there are in a day. There's 86,400 seconds in a day. 86,400. It's a lot of seconds. And we shouldn't waste one of them. Of course we have to sleep, but we're rejuvenating our body, so we could serve Krishna. But there's so many ways to waste time. We shouldn't. Utilize every moment that we can in the service of Krishna. And Krishna sees that. And when he sees that this person is very devoted, just not wasting any time, just using all his time for me, then he gives himself. He reciprocates. Yayatamam papajante. He gives himself. According to the Sankhya system of philosophy, there are 25 elements. The 24 elements already described, plus the time factor, make 25. According to some learned philosophers, the Supersoul is included to make a total of 26. 26 elements. So, it was a nice purport, so I thought I would just kind of glide through it, just gradually. It's a beautiful purport. So Prabhupada's giving us guidance on how to escape, the great escape. It's like in prisons, there's some of these people that are able to make these incredible escapes. But to escape from the material nature, that's the biggest challenge. It's a big challenge. So, and the only way, of course, is we have to engage in devotional service. We have to get this knowledge of Krishna. And from knowledge comes detachment. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he said, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shiksharthameka Purushaparan Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sarivarhari Kripam Buddhivyasta Mahaprabhaya. The Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is an ocean of mercy. Why? Because he's come and he's given us vairagya, he's given us detachment. Vidya, knowledge, and ultimately love for Krishna. So he's an ocean of mercy because he's given it. So if we get knowledge and we don't get detachment, then the knowledge is not so much useful. The result of knowledge is that we should become detached. So we're getting so much knowledge from these books, so it's natural that we should become detached. This very from receiving this very valuable knowledge. Srila Prabhupada was on a walk one time with some devotees at Laguna Beach. And one devotee said, Prabhupada, isn't the ocean beautiful? And Prabhupada said, yes. It's beautiful from a distance. But if you get too close, it can be the cause of your death. Like Christopher Columbus, he sailed the ocean blue, poem. So the ocean is very beautiful. We can see it from here. It's very beautiful. But it can also be a cause of death. Just like we had this Titanic, the biggest cruise ship to ever cross the Atlantic. And people that were on it were so happy, and I'm sure there was hundreds and hundreds of people that were on the docks there waving at them, wishing that they could have gone on the Titanic. Even there was a statement in the newspaper that even God can't sink this ship. Such a big ship, like 2,300 people on it. And then it sank the first time. 1,500 people died. They were so happy, cruising the ocean, cause of their death. So many thousands of people died in the ocean. It was beautiful from a distance. And Prabhupada said, this is just like Maya. Maya appears very attractive. But if you get too close, it can be a cause of your death. So, from a distance, So this is to become free of attraction to this illusion, to the illusory energies. Very difficult. Therefore, Krishna says, Daivihesha gunamaya mama maya dharati mami vive pavodinte maya mitam tarantite. He says to this divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome. Very difficult. Radhanath Swami was speaking about this, and he says, actually, this is an understatement. Very, very, very difficult. Even big swamis, gurus, and sannyas fall victim to Maya. So difficult. So he says, but anyone who surrenders unto me can very easily cross beyond it. So fortunately we're getting guidance from Krishna, from Srila Prabhupada, on how to surrender to Krishna. And the result of this surrendering to Krishna, Prabhupada says in one purport, that if you surrender to Krishna, then you enter into the kingdom of unlimited pleasure. That's a pretty good proposal, right? The kingdom of unlimited pleasure. Here it's called, what is it? Hladitapakari. Hladitapakari means that whatever you try to enjoy in this world, that very thing you're trying to enjoy will be the cause of suffering. That's the material world. Just like there's so many girls and boys, girlfriend and boyfriend, marriages, and they break up. It's very painful. Even I'll tell you an amazing story. Devotee. He grew up in the movement, and he had a girlfriend, and she was favorable to Krishna consciousness also. They were going together for a few years, and then at one point she said, I think we should, go our different ways. And he was devastated. Devastated. He tried to live with it, just go on with life, and it's part of history, just go on. He couldn't do it. He was so attached. He couldn't give up that attachment. This is what keeps us bound. It's like glue. This attachment to material, it's like glue that keeps us bound to this material world. So he couldn't give it up. So at one point he decided to go to her house. He was like one of the family members, so he still had the key. About midnight he goes into the house, goes into her room, wakes her up, and says to her, "This is what you did to me." And he had a gun, and he killed himself. Imagine that, waking up and your ex-boyfriend blows his brains out right in front of you. Whew. This is an extreme example of material life, but this is going on. People are suffering so much due to this material attachment. We can experience so much unlimited happiness if we become attached to Krishna. So first we become attentive. If we're attentive to Krishna, then we can become attracted to Krishna. And then we become attached. Call them the 3 ats. Attention. Actually, our whole process is about doing everything very attentively. Prabhupada said that devotional service means that doing all our service, it's just there. It's amazing. Krishna is the source of all remembrance and forgetfulness. Doing everything very attentively. Paying close attention to the details. This is devotional service. Paying close attention to the details. So many details in devotional service. So if we pay close attention to them and do everything very nicely for Krishna, he's very pleased. Just like if someone's on the pujari, doing pujari service, and the altar's not clean, and he's just, he's not being very devotional, then Krishna sees that, and devotees can also see that. But if we're clean, Prabhupada said there's 2 things that are important in deity worship: cleanliness and punctuality. So if we're clean and we're punctual and we're doing everything devotionally, then Krishna is very pleased. So everything that we do should be done very nicely, with attention. Then we become attracted. Then we become attached. That's the goal. We want to become attached to Krishna. Detached from matter and attached to Krishna. So, on that note, any question, comment? Correction? Yeah.
You were mentioning Srila Prabhupada and Saraswati Thakur, and how they mentioning, how they're propagating the message of Krishna, the message of Bhagavad Gita. And looking at some of the acharyas, a lot of the acharyas, they were in that mood of going out and really fighting for Krishna to spread the message. And sometimes devotees may have a hard time balancing within their minds examples that are not exactly like that, but they're also acharyas, like Gopeshwara Babaji, Jagannath Das Babaji, and so on. And that their only business practically was just hearing, chanting all day long, eating very little, sleeping very little. So they sometimes have a hard time balancing, okay, how you could say was that, setting an example, or how is that like preaching or teaching?